Alright, in this video I'm going to teach you how to add codes to your Roblox game. So, first thing we need to do is make a codes GUI. So, in Starter GUI, we're going to add a screen GUI. Then I'm going to turn on ignore GUI and set, and I'm going to call it codes. And then in this codes screen GUI, I'm going to click the plus again, and I'm going to add a text button, and I'm going to add a frame. Now, I'm just going to move these, and then I'm just going to make the anchor point 0.5, call 0.5. Again, position it in the middle, and then I'm just going to change the size a bit. Then I'm just going to customize it slightly, but you don't have to. And now I've customized my GUIs, I'm just going to go into this frame and I'm going to add a text label, I'm going to add a text button, and I'm going to add a text box. Right, now for this text label, first of all, I'm going to make the size 1, 0, 0.2, 0, and then I'm going to make the background transparency 1, and again, just customize it slightly, and then I'm just going to change the text to say codes, so you can tell that this is indeed the codes GUI. And then for the text box, I am going to put this in the center of our GUI, of our frame, sorry. And then I'm just put our button at the bottom, and I'm going to make it say redeem. Right, so now in our text box here, I'm going to go into the properties, and I'm just going to change the placeholder text to enter code. So you can see it says enter code in our text box here, and I'm just going to change the font. Right, so now you can see we've got our codes GUI here. We can now make this frame not visible, and we can start scripting it. So just add a local script into our codes starter GUI, and I'm just going to call this local script codes script. And I'm also going to add an event in replicated storage, a remote event, and I'm going to call this redeem code. And then I'm going to add a script server script in server script service, and I'm going to call that codes. Right. So now in our code script, we're going to start off by making a few variables. So for example, local frame equals script.parent.frame, and then local button equals script.parent.text button. Right, so first of all, I'm just going to make it open our codes frame whenever this button's pressed. So how we can do that is button.mouse button one click, connect function, and then we're going to say frame.visible equals not frame.visible. So what this is going to do is make the frame visibility what it currently isn't. So if it is visible, it's going to make it not visible. If it's not visible, it's going to make it visible. Right. So now I'm going to say frame.text button .mouse button one click connect function. So what this is going to do is this is going to run every time we click the redeem button. It's going to run this code. So what we're going to say first of all is we're going to get the text in the text box. So local text equals frame .text box .text, and then we're going to say game .replicated storage .redeem code fire server, and in these brackets we're going to give it the text. Right, so now we can go over to our server script. Now the first thing we're going to do is get data store service, because we're going to want to be saving all of the codes that the player has redeemed. So game get service data store service. And then we want to get a code store, so local code store equals data store service, get data store, sorry. And then in these brackets, we just want to say code store. And finally, we're just going to say local HTTP service, so local HTTP service equals game, get service, HTTP service. Now, we are going to create a variable, so local codes. So this is for our codes. We're going to make a table, and then in here I'm going to create a table for each of our codes. So we're going to have our codes add cash to the player. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to make a code for 100 cash and have it equal to 100, because it's going to give our player 100 cash. Right, so I'm just going to leave it as 1 for now, but you can add as many of these as you like. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say game.players.player added connect function. And in these brackets, I'm just going to take the player object, and then I can open up this function. And first of all, we want to get the codes that they previously used. So how I'm going to do that is say local codes equals HTTP service JSON decode. And then in these brackets, we're going to say code store get async. And then in these brackets, we're going to say player.user ID. So now we want to make sure if these codes actually exist. So how we can do that is say if not codes, then codes. I'm just going to set that equal to an empty table. Right, so now we want to have an event that fires every time this redeem code event is triggered. So game.replicate storage redeem code on server event connect function player triggered, and then a comma, and then code. Right. So, first of all, we need to check if the player that's triggered it is our player. So if player triggered equals player, then we want to check if the code exists. So if codes, and then a square brackets, and then code, then we should say else print code ... does not exist. But if it does exist, then we want to say if not table.find, and then codes, and then a comma, and then code, then, so if the code exists and if the player has not yet redeemed it, then we want to first of all table.insert codes and then code. So insert this into their redeemed codes, and then we want to say player.leaderstats.cache.value plus equals codes, and then a square bracket, and then code. So what this is doing, oh, by the way, you need to change this to whatever value you are adding to. So for me, it's just going to be a cache value in the player. So now we want to make sure that this is saved. So this code's redeemed table is saved whenever the player leaves the game. So you wouldn't generally do this, but how we're going to do this is in this player added function, we're going to add a game.players.player removing event. So :connect function, and then in these brackets we're going to take the player leaving. Then we're going to say if player leaving is our player, then we're just going to say code store :set async pair of brackets and then the key, so that's the player's user ID, so player.user ID and then a comma, and then http service :json in code. Then in these brackets we want to give our codes table. So now I'm just going to quickly add some lines at the top of this just to give our player the cache value in their leader stats, because I don't already have that, but if you do, you can skip this step. Right, so now we're just going to play test our game, so click on play. Oh, what's our error here? Argument 1 missing or nil. Our player doesn't already have data saved, this isn't going to work. So how we can make this work is we're just going to go ahead and cut this, so get rid of it, and then we're going to say local data equals, and then paste that, and then we're just going to get rid of this, and then we're going to say if data, then codes equals http service :json decode data, else codes equals these squiggly brackets for a table, and then we just delete this. Oh, and one thing we've done wrong here is we've created two variables called codes. Now how we can fix that is we're just going to change the name of codes to codes redeemed on this line, and you can copy and paste that here, here, and here, and here, and finally here. So just make sure you replace codes with codes redeemed everywhere there. Right, so now if we play our game, you can see that if I click codes and click and type in 100 cash and click redeem, I get 100 cash. But if I click it again, you can see that I don't get it because I've already redeemed it. And if I leave the game and join again, you'll be able to see that if I go to codes and enter 100 cash, it does not redeem still because I've already redeemed it. And the only reason cash is still 0 is because I'm not saving the cash value. But we are saving the codes that have been redeemed. So that was how you can add codes to your Roblox game. If you found this helpful, then please subscribe. Anyways, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.